So I've been asked a couple of times to explain the different levels of crimes that you can be charged with. So I'll break it down into a couple of different categories and try to make it really simple and understandable for everybody. So the basic two categories of crimes are misdemeanors and felonies. So misdemeanors are split down into two categories, which are first degree misdemeanors and second degree misdemeanors. And then felonies are split into four categories, which are third degree, second degree, first degree, and life felonies. So if you've ever heard of a PBL, that is a punishable by life felony. And so in the court system, we shorten it by saying life felony. So I'll start with misdemeanors. Misdemeanors are a lesser crime than felonies. Misdemeanors are the lowest level of crime you can be charged with. And the lowest level can be something like a criminal traffic offense where you're being charged with driving on a suspended license, or maybe allowing someone else to drive your vehicle when they didn't have a license. Or it can be low level offenses like disorderly conduct, different things like that. Misdemeanors typically do not have a horrible effect on your record. However, if you want to go into a profession that has a higher level background check or requires more security or a character and fitness check, misdemeanors can still affect you. Now, that doesn't mean you can't go into the career of your choice. What it means is that you have to be very careful with how you handle those charges to make sure that they don't negatively affect your future. First degree misdemeanors are a little bit more serious than second degree misdemeanors. Second degree misdemeanors are punishable by up to 60 days in the county jail and a $500 fine. A first degree misdemeanor is punishable by up to a year in the county jail and a $1,000 fine. So more serious, obviously, to more time that you can be incarcerated. You can also be put on probation for either of those types of crimes. Obviously, our goal is to have as minimal consequences possible. So some cases you can get dismissed, some of them there's a lot of evidence, and the best idea is to come to some sort of settlement or plea agreement with the state. But in any event, those misdemeanors are the lesser crimes. Now, when you get into felonies, I know everybody's heard of convicted felon. And when you get into felonies, those are much more serious. Felonies can stop you from having a lot of your civil rights. So in order to enjoy your rights of being able to vote, to be able to sit on a jury, to be able to own and possess a firearm, a lot of rights that you have as a citizen, those rights go away if you become a convicted felon. And so third degree felonies are the least serious felonies. They're punishable by up to 5 years Florida State prison and a $5,000 fine. And then you go up to second degree felonies, which are punishable by up to 15 years in prison, first degree felonies, which are punishable by up to 30 years in prison, and then life felonies are exactly that. They're punishable by up to life in prison. So obviously those are very, very serious consequences. I practice in the state of Florida where in many counties, the punishment that the state seeks for felonies is very harsh. And so again, you have to be very careful with how you handle those because you could be facing a lot of prison time. And even when it's not that life in prison, any amount of prison is significant and it can affect your life, it can affect your loved ones' lives. And so you have to be very, very careful. There is something called a withhold of adjudication that can happen on a third degree felony or a misdemeanor. And basically what that means is even if you were to choose to plead no contest or plead guilty, or you were to be found guilty by a jury, a judge can still choose to not hold you as a convicted felon if it's a felony, if it is your first offense. So there are some more complicated rules involved with it, but essentially that's what happens. And so there is opportunities when you're being charged with a felon not to become a convicted felon and those rights be removed from you. And there's also a process by which to either have your charges sealed or expunged or to have those things removed from your record so that they don't continue to affect you. So there's a lot of different options you have when you're being charged with a crime. Sometimes it's more difficult than the average person would know to get those things done. And sometimes it's more confusing because you don't really know what the charges against you mean or the different options that you have. So if you have questions about charges that you have against you or charges that a loved one has, you can feel free to reach out to my office. Our number here is 863-455-4811, or you can visit our website at joneslawjustice.com.